Hello Rayclast, what's up? Zambash here with the next update for my Reave of Refraction Gladiator League starter. Just go ahead and run a strand map here as a quick showcase of how we're doing. Got it on my quick Alken-Go gold farming Atlas strategy. I need a little bit of gold so I can currency exchange for some catalysts. So, just go ahead and blast through this strand. The build is probably just about nearing its final form here. I have about 70 divs into it at this point, I would say. I've been considering spending like 15 more just to get a awakened increased area of effect, but I am not sure that I really want to spend 15 div for something that's relatively pointless. At this point, I'm just going to ignore those gems that are wanting to level right now. Because, oh nice, we got bismuth, that'll up the total amount of gold from this map quite a bit. Because I'm already hitting the edges of the screen, so I don't really think more AoE is going to be particularly useful here. But the build has been shaping up really nicely. Oh nice, we also got Covetous Shrine for even more gold. I hit level 99 for the first time ever. Which was fairly easy. Since I got everything sort of together on the build, I don't really die anymore, at least during any kind of general, regular, reasonable sort of content.
My loyalties have been realigned, Muckblood. Don't expect a chance. My mute when you meet the light.
But I don't know that I particularly want to grind for 100, because I am kind of bored of my XP grinding strat, which was like fully juiced Breach plus Abyss plus Syndicate. That seems to be the best kind of poor man's XP setup, if you will. And I just don't know that I really feel like farming any more of that at this point. So I don't know if I'll push for that level 100. Probably not. And I don't have anything real big coming from that anyways. It would just be picking back up the crit mastery for 25 crit multi against unique enemies. Which would be a nice little extra bit of damage, but I'm just not super caring about that at this point. It looks like I've got a Katarina ready to run after this map as well.
You should have given them. You're a smart one, Exile.
So, as you can see, we move around very quickly. We clear very quickly, because we hit pretty much the whole screen. Got strong boxes on this for some extra money. And at this point, we're pretty darn tanky. Still not great against dots. Elemental dots are okay, since we have 8 endurance charges and Wise Oak with all resistances balanced. We have quite a lot of generic elemental damage reduction, but like chaos dots are still really nasty. Though we do have instant leech going at this point as well, so in that regard we're pretty okay. So, chop those guys down, grab our stuff and get out of here. I have done the feared and everything at this point. My Atlas is totally filled out. I've got all 132 points. Everything went pretty smooth and easy. The next video on this character will probably be the full build guide, and I'll stick like the feared fight and stuff in that. So, upgrades that I've made since the last time. For one, I was debating what to do for my last flask. I didn't need the diamond flask anymore because I'm now crit capped without the diamond flask as long as I have power charges up. I was thinking maybe Lion's Roar, but the knockback is kind of annoying. A tincture would be the strongest, like the elemental tincture with a pen suffix, but I have a super tiny amount of unreserved mana and a pretty big mana pool, so I think that would just be kind of iffy. Then I looked at my resists and saw that they were pretty close together and figured I could probably balance all three if I just did some little harvest res flipping back and forth and use the Wise Oak. So that's what I decided to do. Obviously, Wise Oak was nerfed like a couple years ago and is not nearly as strong as it used to be. For those of you who weren't around, the elemental damage reduction used to be 10%, and the pen used to roll up to 15%, so Wise Oak was really, really strong back then. But even now, if you can balance all 3 res, I think it's pretty worthwhile. It's defense and offense combined into 1 flask, so that's pretty solid. As you can see, I've got 90, 90, 90 uncapped res. Fixed up my other flasks to get them good as well. I was disappointed. I didn't notice it in the patch notes. I intended to get an attack speed suffix on a flask and went on trade and searched, and there were none, and then found that that was removed. The attack speed suffix no longer rolls on magic flasks. So that was disappointing. So instead, I went with 80% increased block and stun recovery on my silver flask, and then I went reduced effective curses on this jade flask. I'm getting decent returns out of just leveling a bunch of more durations and then corrupting the fish for 21s on this character. But reduced effective curses there, and I'm probably going to upgrade the Yugal Pantheon for some reduced effective curses and maybe use that instead of Rislotha most of the time. That gets you almost complete curse immunity. You'd only have like 5% left of curses affecting you. And then, of course, I've just got extra evasion on my Stibnite Flask here. And we got a catalyzed Eternal Life Flask of Sealing. I use a catalyzed Eternal Flask on pretty much all of my builds. You'll probably be familiar with that if you've been following the channel for any kind of time. I don't think I have anything left to unveil, so I'm just going to sell that. So, balanced our res and went for the Wise Oak. Got all our other flasks fixed up. I don't even think I had made the switch to Dark Rays in the last video. So I got some Dark Rays, double corrupt with Spell Suppression and Life. And I might not have even had this second ring previously either. I can't remember for sure. One more thing I really would like to get on the character. I've had a live search going pretty much all League, but unfortunately nobody's posted one. There was one posted. I want to get a Peripetea with Life on block and +1 max frenzy charges. Would be amazing. There was one listed so far in this league that I've seen, but unfortunately the person was offline when I saw it, and by the next time we were both online it had already sold, and my live search has not turned up another one since then. It would be really sick to get another max frenzy charge, because that would also be another max endurance charge. So that's probably the most notable upgrade since the last video, is I did get my hands on the Forbidden Flesh and Flame for Masterful Form. Did some re-switching around to the passive tree after that, and went into these Endurance and Frenzy Charge nodes. Get some nice AoE and then damage from both of these, and we benefit from all the Frenzy ones. We don't really benefit at all from these first 2 little Endurance Charge ones, but it was still worth going down here, I think. And we do have a lot of charges, so that 3% increased damage per charge is tempting, but after playing for a little bit, it just really seemed like the charge duration was going to be some really nice quality of life, especially on bosses. You know, for mapping, we get endurance charges on kill, so it's not really a big deal. But for bosses, having that mastery means we only have to throw Enduring Cry once every 20 seconds to keep our endurance charges up, so that makes it really comfy. It's really nice to have that extra duration for our frenzy charges as too, because Dark Ray Vectors gives you 40% reduced charge duration. And since our only source of power charges is Assassin's Mark, and that is a pretty low chance, especially on bosses, it's really nice to have that extra duration on the power charges as well, in case you get unlucky for a while and it takes you a while to generate another power charge. So with that, we've got all our endurance charges up. We got 8 endurance charges, 8 frenzy charges. We have the Fortify from our dagger, so that's giving us 52% total damage reduction, Fizz and Ellie, and then we get another 6% from the Wise Oak, so we are quite tanky at this point. And of course we still have the capped lucky block with life gain on block, and we have a good amount of evasion, and we have elusive on top of all that. Let me just go to Blood Aqueducts here. I haven't actually checked since I updated my flasks. I just want to see how high my evasion is when I actually get all my charges up here at this point. Get to 8 charges. And then pop on my flask, so we're at 46k evasion, and then we have blind on top of that. So we're pretty darn high on evasion at this point. So we have a lot of layers of avoidance, and then we have pretty good mitigation under it with all of our endurance charges plus fortify. And then on top of all of that, we have 875 ES. I would like to get a little more ES. Specifically, I'd like to craft a better chest probably if I decide I want to upgrade this character more. This one has Dumpo prefixes, obviously, and it would be nice if that had a lot more evasion and energy shield. That way we'd have a bigger pool for Ghost Dance, because right now our evasion is like way over recovering for our pool on Ghost Dance. Said I had what, 46k evasion, 46,000 times 0.03. Yeah, so I could have almost 1400 energy shield and still have Ghost Dance refill that in one go. But that's another defensive layer we have under all of our stuff. If something actually gets through all of our layers of avoidance, we have Ghost Dance to bump up with this little energy shield pool for us. Other big upgrades I will mention, I have probably the best, one of the best, if not the best, Fizz daggers in the league right now. I went ahead and crafted the suffixes on this. Got really lucky, got rid of the multi-mod, and decided I wanted to do harvest add speeds until I got T1 or T2 attack speed. I hit T1 attack speed on the first try, then crafted the crit chance plus strength and int, and slammed, hoping for crit multi. Didn't get crit multi, but got the second best thing. I got a perfect roll on T2 accuracy. So that's about the best thing I could have got other than crit multi, and that was nice because having the accuracy there meant I no longer needed an accuracy roll anywhere else. So I replaced my old helmet that had accuracy for this new one that has spell suppression. Doing that gave me enough spell suppression that I was able to ditch the dagger mastery for 10 spell suppression and replace that with the critical strikes have culling strike instead. Now of course I could get culling strike somewhere else. I could like fit it in with my shield charge or something. But it's nice to just have it on all the time there for the crit strikes have culling strike. Felt like that was worthwhile. If I was to grind out the level 100, I would, like I said, just put back in this 25 crit multi against unique enemies here. I think would be the best use of that final point. We've got the cluster jewel set up. I think I had that in the last one. We're just using the front of it here for martial prowess and strike leader, which gets our block and spell block capped out. So overall, the build has just come together really nicely. Super happy with the way it plays, the way it feels, how strong it is overall. Really fast and smooth clearer, really tanky. I think I said this is the first time I've ever hit level 99, and I may yet grind to 100 if I really feel like it. I'm not sure yet. At this point, I think I'm probably not going to invest much more currency into the character. I do want to just buy a bunch of abrasive catalysts and use those on my rings, amulet, and belt to get a little extra damage. I could, of course, go for a Stygian Vice here, would be a pretty obvious upgrade rather than a leather belt, but again, that would probably be like 10 plus divs to get a comparable Stygian Vice to my leather belt, and I just don't know that I really feel like extending the budget much more here since I'm already at around 70 divs invested. The character's probably worth more than that at this point, depending on how highly you value Fizz daggers. They're not very popular, which is probably why I was able to get this base with T1 flat and T2 hybrid and T2% Fizz for only 16 divs. If you wanted those 3 prefixes on a different kind of base, it would probably be a lot more expensive than a dagger. And like I said, got lucky. First try, tier 1 attack speed on the Harvest Forge, or the Harvest Remove add attack speed there. And I would like to get that Peripetea with +1 Frenzy and Recovery on block if I could, but that's just a matter of will somebody ever post one. We'll have to wait and see. But I won't talk too much about it now. This has already been kind of a long-winded video, but I'm super happy with where the character is, and the next video on this character will likely be the full build guide, going through everything in detail. So stay tuned if you are interested in that. I will go ahead and throw a POB for the character in its current state if you just want to look through a POB at that in the video description. Thank you guys for watching, stay safe, and I will catch you at the build guide.